Welcome. Imagine waking up one day and feeling that everything around you is exactly the same as yesterday, and the day before that, and even the year before that. Nothing has changed. Your dreams are still waiting. Your goals are still far away. Deep inside, you feel something is missing, but you don't know what to do. This story will take you into a world where change is possible, but only if you are brave enough to take the first step. In this story, you will enter a strange place where time does not move forward unless someone decides to change. Many things will feel familiar to you, but something about this place is different. There is a quiet rule hidden in the air, and most people never notice it. But once you see it, your life will never be the same again. Are you ready to discover what happens when someone refuses to stay the same? Far beyond busy roads and loud cities, there was a silent valley where everything looked perfect at first sight. The houses were clean, the sky was always blue, and nothing ever went wrong. But if you stayed there longer, you would notice something strange. The trees never grew taller, the seasons never changed, and the people followed the same routine every single day. It was a place where time seemed frozen, and no one questioned it. In this valley, there was a path that everyone used, but no one ever left. The path was smooth and easy, with no rocks or obstacles. People walked on it every day, going in circles without even realizing it. They believed this path was safe, and they were afraid to step off it. Because beyond the path, there was uncertainty, and uncertainty felt dangerous. One day, a strong wind passed through the valley. It was different from the usual gentle breeze. This wind carried whispers, soft voices that spoke about change, growth, and new beginnings. Some people heard it, but they ignored it. They covered their ears and continued walking on the same path. But the whispers did not disappear. They stayed in the air, waiting for someone to listen. At the edge of the valley, there stood a tall gate. It was old and covered with dust, as if no one had touched it for a long time. On the gate, there were words written in bold letters. Only those who change can pass. Many people had seen this gate, but they never tried to open it. They believed it was locked forever. After all, why take a risk when everything already felt comfortable? But one day, something unusual happened. The ground near the path started to crack slightly. It was not dangerous, but it was enough to make people uncomfortable. They looked around with fear, but instead of exploring, they walked faster on the same path. They believed that staying on the path would keep them safe. They did not understand that the path itself was changing. As time passed, the cracks became bigger. The smooth path was no longer perfect. Small stones appeared, and walking became harder. People started to complain, but still, they refused to leave the path. They kept saying, "This is how it has always been. It will become better again." But deep inside, they knew something was wrong. Meanwhile, the whispers in the wind became louder. They spoke about stepping off the path, about trying something new, about taking control of the future. The gate at the edge of the valley seemed to shine a little brighter now, as if it was waiting. But fear was stronger than curiosity for most people. They stayed where they were, hoping things would fix themselves. Then, something unexpected happened. A small part of the path broke completely. It created a gap that people could not ignore anymore. They had to stop walking. For the first time, they were forced to think. Should they go back? Should they wait? Or should they try something different? The answer was not easy, and many people felt confused. Near the broken path, there was a narrow trail leading toward the unknown. It was not smooth. It had rocks, sharp turns, and dark corners. It looked difficult and risky. Most people looked at it and shook their heads. "It's too dangerous," they said. "We will wait here until the path becomes normal again." But deep inside, they were not sure if it ever would. The wind grew stronger again, and the whispers became clear words. "Nothing changes if you don't change." These words echoed through the valley. Some people felt uncomfortable hearing them. They did not want to accept this truth. It was easier to blame the broken path than to take responsibility for their own actions. Days passed, and the gap in the path did not disappear. The people who waited started to feel tired and frustrated. They realized that waiting was not solving anything. The valley, once peaceful, now felt heavy and full of doubt. The perfect place was no longer perfect, and something had to change. Finally, someone stepped toward the narrow trail. It was not an easy decision. The trail looked uncertain, and there was no guarantee of success. But staying still was no longer an option. One step turned into another, and slowly, the journey began. It was difficult at first, but something surprising happened. The further the journey went, the stronger the steps became. As the trail continued, the surroundings started to change. The sky showed new colors, the air felt fresh, and the ground became more stable. The fear that once felt so strong began to fade. In its place, there was a new feeling: confidence. It was not perfect, but it was real, and it was growing with every step forward. Back in the valley, more people started to notice the change. They saw that the trail was not destroying anyone. Instead, it was leading somewhere new. Slowly, one by one, they began to move. Not everyone at once, but enough to create a shift. The valley that once refused to change was now slowly waking up. The gate at the edge of the valley began to open slightly. It had never been locked. It only needed someone to believe that change was possible. The words on the gate now seemed clearer than ever. Only those who change can pass. It was not just a message. It was a truth that had always been there. As more people took the trail, the old path started to disappear completely. It was no longer needed. The valley was no longer a place of repetition. It became a place of growth, learning, and new opportunities. The fear of change turned into excitement, and the unknown became a place of possibility. The journey was not always easy, but it was worth it. Every step forward brought something new: new strength, new ideas, and new hope. The people who once stayed the same realized something important. Staying comfortable had kept them stuck. But choosing change had given them a future. And so, the valley transformed. It was no longer silent and frozen. It was alive, full of movement and energy. The wind still whispered, but now the whispers were different. They no longer asked people to change. They reminded them that they already had the power to do it. This story is not just about a valley or a path. It is about a simple truth. If nothing changes, nothing improves. Waiting will not create a better future. Only action will. The moment you decide to step forward, even if the path is uncertain, you begin to change your life. So remember this: don't stay the same. The future you want is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is waiting for you to take the first step. And once you do, you will realize something powerful. Change is not something to fear. It is something that creates your future.